Hello everyone and welcome aboard to Surf's Up Build episode number 7, an episode where I'm actually fixing a problem today instead of creating one. You see, I built this entire off-grid system, the solar panels from OptiSolex, the lead time battery, the chargers, the Victron displays I can read on my phone, and I completely neglected my starting battery bank. And while they aren't hooked up to any kind of electronics anymore, other than the engines, they do still need to be charged. Now, I have two options for this problem. One is more solar panels. I already have to remove all these lines for the sea lions. I have to remove this cover for the sun and the birds. And I have to fold up this solar panel here. So without wanting to add extra solar and make my boat look like an abandoned sea lion home, I decided to make a phone call over to our good friends at Defender Marine. They help supply whatever I need for all my products here in the Surf's Up Build series, but they also just opened a new program called the Defender Outfitters. The Outfitters are a group of professionals over there at Defender Marine, and you can personally call them to get help with any project you have on your vessel. I went ahead and called them, and I was able to get hooked up with this Orion Smart DC-DC charger. With this charger, I'll be able to tend to my starting bank from my house bank without having to worry about it ever going dead. This thing can be used with really any system you have. There's settings that will help it go from lithium to lead acid or lead acid to lithium. If you watch my installation of the lead time battery in earlier Surf's Up Build episodes, you will know that the voltages actually behave differently between lead acid and lithium, so we can't just directly combine them. So today we're gonna go ahead and install this, provide you guys with a couple of updates on the state of the projects. First, I'm gonna go get the stink off my boat, and I will see you guys down here in my engine room. All right, so the boat's clean and we're back in the bilge now. So let me give you guys a little more in-depth review of what is going on. Below me, I have 3 batteries in this battery box. The forward half of it right here are 2 big 8Ds, one for each engine. Behind it is one smaller but more powerful lithium battery that has 320 amp hours. My entire boat runs off of this one sitting back here. The 2 forward 8Ds are just for starting the batteries and making sure that the vessel always runs. Unfortunately, that has become a problem because I don't have any way to charge them anymore outside of the alternators, which only work when the engine's on. The current setup consists of this solar panel bag right here, connecting through the wall about there, coming all the way around into the bilge, and then powering this charger right here. This lead time charger decides whether it wants to charge the lithium battery from the solar panel or through another connection where it's hooked up to one of the starting batteries so that it gets that alternator charge. So we need a similar system where we can take the lithium power, hook it up to this DC charger, and then charge back the starting batteries. And because the starting batteries are each on their own 1, 2, or combined battery switches, when off, they are left isolated, which is where this battery combine comes in. Both of these items are automatic, so they know the voltage of all your batteries, so they won't accidentally discharge your primary while charging your secondary. Now let me see if I can find a place for these things and get them all hooked up. I went ahead and took a look around, and I decided I'm just gonna mount the actual combiner in the battery box here. I think it'll be the best place for it, a little tight, but the batteries actually clear it. The run for the battery combiner is gonna be really short. I'm talking inches on this one, so I went ahead and got 8 gauge. I'm also gonna use 8 gauge though for the other DC to DC charger. My longest run on that is gonna be about 8 feet, and this charger only puts out about 18 amp. On my past battery chargers, I went with the 4 gauge. And honestly, I just thought it was too big. This heat shrink will help seal these connections from any saltwater or corrosion. And they also do a pretty okay job of keeping my crimps on in case they ever get loose. Now I can go ahead and mount it. Make sure to always disconnect your battery ground when doing any sort of electronics work. I just broke my positive terminal, so I'm gonna have to replace that. Check that out. Not good. But better now when I'm doing work than when I'm out at sea. Anyways, since I have to repair that, I'm going to continue to do that later. First on my to-do list is connecting the output cables. This goes from the charger, the output section of the charger, to my actual lead acid battery. This is the battery that I want to charge. On one side of it, you just put the actual stripped end of the cable right into it and tighten a screw, just like that. And the other side gets a lug with a 3/8 hole. This way it can be mounted to the positive battery terminal. So we will go ahead and crimp that. And while I do so, we will talk about our first order of business, which was my last video. The last video was on the Orca Core 2. The Orca Core 2 is a device that you add to a NEMA system, a NEMA backbone, and it sends all of your vessel's data to your phone. and also has its own charting application that you can take anywhere. It's easily one of my favorite boating products. However, as many of you pointed out to me, I made a couple mistakes in my video installing it. In that Orca video, I set up a new NEMA 2000 backbone. I accidentally wired it wrong. I plugged the wrong backbone T's into the wrong spots. Anyways, it's been properly terminated and fixed since then. And another issue you guys were kind enough to point out is I made the mistake of saying that the second port coming out of the Orca Core 2 is actually for power, when it is in fact an Ethernet port, a way that you can connect your radar to it. I don't have a radar, as you can see, so I wasn't aware of that, and I mistook it as a different cable. And lastly, there was some speculation that I didn't actually connect everything properly, that I wasn't actually getting any data on the app that I was showing you guys in the video. But I can assure you it all works. I use it every time I go out, and it's easily my favorite upgrade to my vessel. Now, even with those mistakes I made, my Orca Core 2 video was by far the best Surf's Up build episode I have had yet, so thank you guys for your support. That takes me on to the second topic I wanted to cover with you guys, which is that I'm doing my best to make more and more videos for you. I do have a job as a captain. It does get in the way of the video production I can do. For example, after this video, I have to go take a boat to Mexico for a period of time. However, if you subscribe to the channel, I promise I will keep putting out stuff, and you guys can either keep up with me, or if you don't like me, you can at least keep up with all the cool work I get to do to this boat. Now that I've got both ends with one lug on each side and stripped on the other, I'm gonna go ahead and heat shrink. This will complete making these output cables. I now get to repeat the same steps with the input cables, and since this is the final cable I have to build, I will tell you guys about the final update I wanted to tell you, which is that I have a couple more Surf's Up build episodes coming out. In one, I'm building new deck hatches for this thing, something I think will be a big improvement over these ones. These ones don't keep out any water or noise. And if you're into fiberglass work, then you won't just end up seeing electronic stuff, which has been what most of this build has been so far. And the other video I have on deck for you guys, which I mentioned earlier, is that display video, the Orca display. You guys are definitely going to see that if you enjoyed the Orca Core 2. I'm going to build an entire new dash. That is why it is taking a little while. But I'll be able to show off all the cool stuff it can do when it has its own dedicated display. Let's get the last heat shrink on these, and I'll show you guys how I'm going to wire it. So we are going to loosen these bolts here on the output side. Let's start with the positive. We've got our cable without the lug right here. Go ahead and tighten it. There we go, nice and snug. Do the same thing with your negative output. Then you go ahead and connect these lug sides to the battery that you want to charge. This input side actually has the longest run for these. That is because I'm going to connect them directly to my power distribution bus bar. The reason being is that I want the power that's taken from this charger to read through my shunt, my smart shunt, my Victron smart shunt. I made a video about that. I think it's like episode 2 or 3 on the lithium battery install. What it does is it reads the power that comes in and the power that goes out, and it tells you how much each item is using, or at least how much power you're using when all your items are on. If I connected this just straight to my battery, well then I wouldn't be able to monitor my power usage of the new charger. There is also a very good argument to attach this to my breaker panel instead. However, I have some other plans for that, so I'm not gonna do it quite yet unless I have to. All right, now moment of truth. One thing I did do that I didn't really mention is I started with the output. I wired the output first. That way, when you put the input in, this starts getting power from the input and it immediately recognizes what is going on. And with that, it comes to life. We got a light on there in the bottom right and a Bluetooth light up in the top left. We can pull up our Victron Energy app. It is finished updating. I can see on here I have my Surf's Up BMV 712 on here as well. The Orion Smart right here. Let's go ahead and go to settings. Function power supply, that is fine. Power supply is most definitely not fine. When I went back to fix the positive battery terminals, I realized that the power supply was actually a setting and that I needed to have it on charge. So here are the correct settings, and for my case, a lead acid battery. There are presets for different types of batteries, however, there wasn't one for lead acid, so I went ahead and chose AGM and defined my own values. The absorption voltage is set to 14.3, the float voltage is set to 13.5, bulk to 10 hours, and rebulk to 0.4 of a volt. My adaptive absorption I set to off, with my max absorption being 30 minutes. In summary, the charger will give my battery 14.3 volts when needed, keep it topped up to 13.5 volts, and not do it too often so it doesn't burn up the battery. Now back to the scheduled programming. It is now working, however, I've got to go fix the port engine starboard battery terminal so I can get that battery combiner to work. Either way, successful project. Thank you guys for watching it with me. If you have any advice or any tips, go ahead and leave them down in the comments below. You can find these products all available at Defender Marine and in the description down below. Their Outfitters is a really great resource if you guys find my videos lacking or any information on the internet. You can actually call and talk to a real person who will get you the products that you need for your specific project. So be sure to check them out. Thank you guys for watching, and smooth sailing.